Authoritarianism is a form of government that concentrates power in the hands of a leader or a small elite that is not constitutionally responsible for the people. Authoritarianism has been on the rise around the world for quite some time, with governments becoming less transparent and losing people's trust. The contrast between the rhetoric actions of authoritarian parties and their actual actions is stark. From repressive laws to dark money funding, from corruption scandals to personal enrichment, from corporate deregulation to enabling tax avoidance. All this and more define characteristics of Europe's rising authoritarian parties. We asked passerbys which association they get when we mention authoritarianism.
My answer is pass, because the future should belong to the Democrats. Yes, and for a free future.
So, North Korea, I would say.
Okay.
Lack of human rights.
Lack of freedom, infringement of rights, control, and despair.
Ultraliberalism.
Viktor Orban,
Yes.
I would say.
Sad.
An old adage has it that crises don't make a person, but rather reveal what they're made of. The same applies to political systems. During crises, their underlying strengths and weaknesses are laid bare. Democracy's basic tenets, such as guaranteeing free and fair elections, the right of minorities, freedom of the press, and the rule of law, came under attack around the world in the past decade. The economic crisis in 2008, the refugee crisis in 2015, and the latest pandemic crisis have had the biggest effect on the rise of the authoritarianism. Because in times of crisis, decision-making, the most important feature of the democratic system, becomes very time-consuming. Furthermore, to solve this, people begin using quicker and less democratic jurisdiction measures. Authoritarian parties use this principle of fast decision-making in the name of urgency in times of crisis and try to win some votes, which seems to be working. Anytime we as people encounter a crisis, we accept fast decision-making. But if these decisions remain in action after the crisis, the presence of authoritarianism becomes undeniable.
If I have noticed the rise of authoritarianism. Well, yes. There is an increasing sense that some countries are turning towards more authoritarian, more kind of right-wing, more extreme views, either way of the spectrum, which is a bit worrying, but which is exactly why we, the young people, should continue to push and to express that it's democracy and human rights and the values that are important for us, because the future is ours. I will never forget how, after the Brexit referendum, there was a poll saying that by the time Brexit actually happened, so 3 or 4 years later, something like 5 or 6% of the people who voted to exit had already died. So these decisions, like Brexit, are being taken by people who are older than us, the older generation, and they don't appreciate that what they choose will affect us, their children, their grandchildren. And so we, the young people, should really grab this chance and change our future, not let other generations choose our future for us.
Even though authoritarianism is compelling in times of crisis, we must acknowledge the importance of democracy in our society. We are stronger together. Together, we can ensure equality.